So now that we've looked at the guarantees associated with segregated funds, it's time to look at some of the more advanced features of segregated funds. So the next thing we're going to have a look at will be resets. Now resets are kind of a neat thing with segregated funds. In a lot of ways, they set them apart from other sorts of investments. So as we did earlier, let's say that we're working with somebody who has invested $1,000. Again, we'll use today's date. And let's say that this investment has, not all seg funds have, a 75% maturity guarantee. Some are 100%. But let's say we have a 75% maturity guarantee. And that maturity guarantee is good in 10 years. Again, it's not always going to be 10 years. In fact, 15 years has become much the standard today. But we can see that at this point, this person's going to have a guarantee where we know that the annuitant has a worst case scenario of $750 way out in the future here, the 7th of August of 2022. Now, let's say that our investment does well enough for the first little while, and we get here to the 10th of July of 2014, and on that date, our investment has a value of about $1,200. So now, what you might do, you say, hey, that's good. I've made some money here. I'm ahead of where I started off. And you might exercise a reset. Now, not all contracts necessarily have resets. With some contracts, you have to do this manually. With some contracts, you may have to pay for a reset. With some contracts, resets are automatic, although automatic resets are less common than they have been in the past. But if you do exercise your reset, now we're going to have a maturity guarantee based on 75% of this new market value. 75% of $1,200 is $900. You are going to push back your maturity guarantee, so this contract will now have a maturity guarantee that will take effect on the 10th of July of 2024. So you have a much higher guarantee, but you have to wait a little while to get it. Now let's say that things continue to go well, and you get out here to the 5th of January of 2016. And on that date, your investment has a market value of $1,600. You say, that's really good. I'd like to lock that in. So you exercise your maturity guarantee. 75% of $1,600 is $1,200, more than the actual original $1,000 that was invested back here. Now you are going to push back your maturity guarantee by doing this. So you are going to have to wait a little bit longer to make this work. So now we're waiting until the 5th of January of 2026 to get that guarantee. Great. We're not hoping to use the guarantee. If we use the guarantee, it means that the value of our investments has fallen substantially. What you're hoping for is that from this point on, everything is golden and you continue to have good investment returns, but it doesn't always happen that way. So let's say that we have a market crash, which does happen periodically. We had one in 2008, quite a bad one, in fact, in 2008. And let's say that the value of our investment falls here and it hits, oh, how about $950? Well, at this point, obviously, you're not going to reset. And oh, why don't we give this a date too? We'll say this happens on the 14th of May of 2018. So you know now, the annuitant knows that they only have to wait until this date and they will get more than their $950. Their worst case scenario is already established for them. So they can wait now patiently for the markets to recover instead of taking out these funds. Now that being said, they might want to take the funds out. It's not a good decision to do so, but people will do it anyways in some cases. But they can wait. They can wait that 8 years and know that they're going to get at least that $1,200, which will mean that considering the original amount invested, $1,000, they're still ahead of the game. Now this is quite good. Most investment people will tell you that likely from the period of 2018 to 2026, they're going to recover their value. They're going to get beyond that $950. That's an easy thing to say when you don't have some sort of an emotional commitment to your investments. But most investors, unfortunately, do have an emotional commitment to their investments. And we know that most investors will have the tendency to take this $950 out, even if they figure that there's a recovery coming, or even if everybody tells them that there's a recovery coming. But with a segregated fund, we don't have to worry about that hoping for a recovery. We know our worst case scenario was established. So our seg fund here, because we already know our worst case scenario, it prevents bad decisions. So the reset is good because it locks in your worst case scenario. It's also good because it prevents you from taking money out at that low point. So this is a way we see now that an investor can get access to the markets and know that they're going to have access to whatever's happening in the markets, and at the same time they have their worst case scenarios locked in. So resets are an important feature of a segregated fund, and I'll show you later on. We'll talk about the information folder, and there I'll show you how you know where you're going to look to see how many resets you get and how often you get them. Thanks very much. We'll have quite a few more videos yet to discuss all the characteristics of segregated funds.